Okay, so today we're going to discuss how to fix your monitor if you have a shorted color gun. Now, I do not actually have at the moment a shorted tube or a tube with a shorted gun, is how I meant to say that. I currently don't have one, so I can't display the results at the end as dramatically as I would want to, but I can probably do a good enough job to where I get the point across and you can understand. But basically, let's say you have a monitor here, for instance, where you have all of one color. So for this purpose, I went ahead and just hooked up my Mortal Kombat 2 board and just went to the monitor patterns here and selected red screen. So let's say, for example, you have a image that's all red, all green, or all blue. And you see it just like this, where there's no retrace lines. It's just an all red, all green, or all blue. Now, assuming you've gone through and turned your pots down, done all your adjustments, and everything you try, nothing makes the red, green, or blue oversaturation go away. If it's all red like this, and you can barely even basically see an image in the back, there's a very good chance the problem is caused by a shorted transistor on the neckboard, whether it's the red, green, or blue drive transistor. The transistor is likely shorted. In that case, you can simply remove the transistor from the neckboard, and if the over red saturation or green or blue, whatever, goes away, then your transistor is shorted. You can also try and swap the transistors around between red, green, and blue and see if you have an all red image, see if it changes to blue, green, whatever. There's multiple ways documented on how to do that. But if you have an all red, green, or blue screen that has retrace lines, you have a shorted color gun inside the picture tube. So all of one color with no retrace lines, shorted transistor or other neckboard issue. All of one color with retrace lines, you have a shorted color gun. And I'll insert a few pictures here so you can see, if you're not familiar with what that looks like. It looks just like this, only it has, actually, as a matter of fact, I can probably demonstrate that. Let me turn up the flyback here. Nope, it just oversaturates the red a little bit. But so I'll have to insert some pictures here so you can see exactly what it looks like and you'll understand more. Okay, so now that you see that, so just imagine this red image here with the retrace lines. We have a shorted red color gun inside the picture tube. So how do you fix that? Well, I'll show you here. Stand by. All right, so the chassis that we're going to be doing this demonstration on for today is a K7000, and that's what was hooked up to the tube a moment ago that you just saw. So before we get into too much detail here, what causes this to happen? Well, inside the picture tube you have the three color guns, and I believe it's the cathode of the color guns will short to the ground inside the tube for the heater circuit. When that happens, it's basically shorting the color gun to ground, and it's 100% emitting all the time. And there's not really a way to fix that because it's inside the tube. So when the gun shorts to the heater ground, it's on full blast all the time, and you can't really do nothing about it. And that's why you have the retrace lines, as opposed to just when you have all of one color with no retrace lines, it's the drive circuit. With the retrace lines, the gun is shorted. And it's a full blast all the time. And there's not really any way to fix that short of, no pun intended, what I'm going to show you here shortly. But it should be noted that you can hook up a rejuvenator to these circumstances sometimes, and there is a setting for remove shorts. However, I don't think I've ever successfully done it with a rejuvenator. I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's not going to work. I mean, your mileage may vary. You might be able to do it with the rejuvenator, but I've never seen it successfully done. So there's a much more reliable and easier way to do it. We have to remove the short from the heater ground, and the only way to do that is to remove the heater ground from the circuit, and then the color gun won't be shorted anymore. Is the very layman's way to say that. Well, how can we eliminate the heater ground from the circuit and maintain heater voltage? If we get rid of the heater ground, there won't be a path for the heater to get back through ground to heat the heater up. You'll have no net glow, no image, and you'll solve the problem. But by solving the short problem, you induce no heater voltage. So we have to remove the shorted color gun from the short to the heater ground. And to do that, we have to remove the heater circuit from the operation of the tube, and by doing that, we eliminate the problem. Well, okay, on the neckboard, pretty much any television, arcade monitor, picture tube, really ever, there is a positive and a negative for the heater circuit to provide the 6.3 volts on most all of them to turn on the heater and have net glow and an image on the screen. So on this particular neck board here, you have the main ground here, and it goes to this pin. That's what's shorted, is the color gun. Let's say it's a red. Your red drive is shorted to the ground for the heater circuit, and you have to fix that. The easiest way to do this, I'm kind of going fast here, but you can cut this trace here. This is the heater negative, and this trace here is the heater positive. You could physically cut these traces, and then no longer will the ground circuit be going to the heater inside the tube, and thus you have removed the short that way. You cut this ground for the heater circuit, and our shorted color gun is now no longer shorted. But in doing so, you have now eliminated the 6.3 volts to the heater circuit for the tube, and now you have no image. So we have to restore that voltage. How do we do that? Well, I'll get to that shortly. So the first thing I want to do here is give you a demonstration on what to do here. So this is our heater negative, this is our heater positive. Now some neck boards will be different. You have to look up the pinout for whatever type of connection you have, but obviously this is the ground, this is our heater. The heater positive is going to be coming off a large resistor most of the time. You see here you have this large resistor that goes to this trace, which runs up to here. So that's our heater positive, no doubt. You can also follow your pathways to your cutoff and bias pots, and your transistors will run to the corresponding red, green, and blue points and things like that. But for this purpose, this is our ground and this is our positive. So let's go ahead and just kind of, you can't just simply slice through the trace with a sharp knife or something, because it can actually jump the gap, and an arc can cause problems. You don't want that. So you want to have a nice big gouge here. If I can do this successfully, I should probably just get a Dremel and do it, but you want a nice big gouge across here. You don't want that voltage to jump across there at all. And I'm probably not gonna be able to do this. Yeah, I probably need to get a Dremel or something, but you want to cut this completely and have a nice big gap there where it's not going to jump across. Now I'm butchering this, so it's not going to look good, but it's not about what it looks like, it's about functionality. So there we can see I have a nice big gouge in there. It's right through here. Yeah, it looks that looks terrible. That's why it's the amateur channel, but I don't care what it looks like, because you can always put some paint over it or something, or polish it up. But I mean, we're going to be fixing this later anyway, so just for demonstration purposes. So right across here I have this big chunk out right through there, and as a matter of fact, I wonder if we could just get a little alcohol on there and wipe this off, and you can kind of see there, nice big gouge through there. And we can grab the meter and verify, because we don't want to make a mistake here. And we'll put the meter in continuity, touch our leads together, and we'll go from, another point on the thing here to here. And then, yep, nothing. So that's done. We can now do the same thing for the heater positive. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just desolder the two pins and lift them out of the socket, and then solder, I'm getting ahead of myself, our wires to this, which I'll show later. You could do that too, but this is the more ghetto-ish way maybe of doing this, but since we're the amateur channel, we'll do it the amateurish way. How about that? No, I don't think that is. There we go. That'll work. Okay. Now same thing, check our leads. Yep, and we'll go to here and touch this side if it's exposed. Nope, well, it's open either way. I don't think I have enough of the trace exposed for this one. Okay, there it is, but now if I touch the pin, nothing. So now, if we were to hook this back up to the tube right now, our short would be gone. Absolutely, without a doubt. But we also wouldn't have any heater voltage, we would have no neck glow, and we'd have no image on the screen. So we have to restore our heater voltage. How do we do that? Well, get yourself a wire that I would say no less than 18 gauge. It doesn't need to be this long. Get yourself, I'd say, at least an 18 gauge wire minimum. And what we do is we wrap this around the ferrite core of the flyback, and the inductance off of the ferrite core of the flyback operating at normal high voltage will generate our 6.3 heater voltage and restore our heater circuit. So it's playing off of the inductance of the ferrite core. So we have to wrap this wire around the ferrite core 3 times at a minimum. And I have already kind of loosened up this bracket because there's not much space between here. You can accomplish this any way you want to, but we can simply try to wrap this around here 3 times. So let's go ahead and get this through here once. I might have to go through the other way. Yeah, this way. Okay, we have 1. And you don't want any other wires in your way here. And be careful, you don't want to cause crack joints or break your ferrite core or things like that. But so do this with a little bit of finesse. There we go. Let's make sure this is even here. Close enough. Okay, so here is, oh, man, it's gonna be tough here. Here is one wrap. Okay. What in the world is going on here? And these wires off of this mod are in my way. Now this is just some speaker wire I had laying around. Obviously it's a little bit too thick for this application, but I've already committed, so we're gonna just keep going. So there's one wrap. You see right there, there's one. One wrap around the ferrite core. One wrap around the ferrite core. 2 wrap around the ferrite core. Three wrap around the ferrite core. There we go. So you can see right there, you want to kind of space them out a little bit, but there we have it. 3 wraps around the ferrite core, 1, 2, 3. Then we take these 2 wires here and we solder them to the 2 points here on the neck socket, and that will fix a shorted color gun problem. So I'm going to do that right now, and we'll just tap this on here like so. And then make sure that your wire doesn't touch the exposed side of the trace that runs back this way, or you'll be back where you were. And I'm not really even sure what that would do, quite honestly, but just make sure it's not touching the exposed part of what you cut there. And that's it. So through the inductance off the flyback, it's going to generate our heater voltage. And with those two traces cut, it will act normally, and you will no longer have your shorted color gun. And I wish I had one to show you that was shorted for dramatic effect, but trust me, if you do this, you'll experience your own dramatic effect. All right, so again, if we go to here, to this trace here, nothing. This trace to ground, nothing. If we touch the trace on this side, okay, and this side here, yeah, but not the, yeah. So I think I'll hook this back up, and I'll show you that it now still functions with those cut traces and off the inductance for the flyback. Then I'll desolder one of these and just show you that it will kill the heater voltage and things like that. So if you have a shorted color gun and you want to know how to fix it, if you don't have a rejuvenator or you tried the remove shorts option, it doesn't work. Actually, well, I was gonna put this screw back in, but like, you know what? I'll probably leave it out because I gotta take this back out again. I'm just going to put this screw back in. I loosened this up, like I mentioned, to give me a little bit more room. Yeah, I'll leave it out. Okay, so I'm going to get this back on the tube. Well, I'll show you that it is now completely fully functional still, and then I'll get one of these wires off and show you that it loses the heater voltage and all that. So, yeah. So if you have a shorted color gun, this is how to fix it. So let me get this hooked back up, and I'll show you, and then we'll finish this out. All right, so we're all hooked back up, and I think for dramatic effect, I actually desoldered one of the two wires here just so we can see that it's not working before I power it up. And then you'll see there's no net glow, no heater, nothing like that. And then I'll go ahead and just quick tack that back on. You'll see my heater will magically come back. So you will have full high voltage and everything will operate, and your short will be gone, but you won't have any heater voltage. So let's go ahead and turn this on. I still have MK2 here obviously plugged in. So it should operate and run, but no heater voltage. So 1, 2, 3. Yep. And turn the light out here, and we'll zoom in to the heater, and there's nothing. And as you can see on the screen, nothing. No heater, nothing. So I'm going to turn this off and turn that back on. Let's spin this around. And I'm going to try and do this where you can see it. Maybe. Stay there, will you? Okay. Let's go ahead and hook this back to here. All right. And now, magically, through the power of inductance, our heater circuit should work. 1, 2, 3. Boom. And voila. It's still a bit too bright because I turned that screen pot, but yeah, let me do it this way. Turn this back down slightly. Now that I can't see, there we go. There you go. Heater traces cut, and magically, through inductance, heater voltage comes back. So if you have a shorted color gun, all you have to do is cut those heater traces, power or positive and negative, wrap the wire around the ferrite core of the flyback 3 times, solder the wires to the 2 pads that go right to the next socket. That will eliminate your short and bring your heater voltage back, and you'll no longer have your shorted color gun. So hopefully that makes sense. I think I've repeated it like 4 times. I've said before, I repeat myself a lot because I worked in the military, and I was used to having to repeat myself multiple times with instructions because I worked with a lot of morons. I'm just going to put it bluntly. A lot of the guys I worked with were not too intelligent. Early on in the career, some places I was at, the guys were not too bright. Later on, when I went out to sea and stuff, those guys were pretty good. But yeah, that being said, hopefully that helps you out and helps you save your picture tube and gives you some more life in your monitor. So thanks for watching, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Share if you want. Pass the information along, and we'll see you next time.